Who's that one on the road? Whoa, what's going on there? Yeah. Who's that one on the road? Whoa, what's going on there? Yeah. Who's that one on the road? Whoa, what's going on there? Yeah. Who's that one on the road? Yeah. Who's that one on the road?
Hello, everybody. We're back in here for another squad chat. This time we have Chance and Axton. A few of you may have remembered that we have done this before with Chance and Axton, but we lost that archive to the time and space. So we're here to actually give them a chance to be on screen, tell us what they do, and be here for posterity. They are members of our mapping and environment team, so if you have mapping and environment questions for us today, that would be the best thing to ask. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. We have some from the forum threads too. And without further ado, let's start with Axton, because his name starts with an A, and he is a devilish clippy.
Yeah, no, you're not getting my face until I go to Italy, just so y'all know. But yeah, hello, I'm Axton. I am a mapper, technical artist sort of thing. That's what I do here. I help Chance not get fired, mostly.
That's something that we're all responsible for, really.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
I try.
Axton, so if somebody was looking for the most recent example of your work in game, what would they recognize as your work?
I've done quite a bit of varied stuff, mostly map stuff. So I did make Mestia, but the more recent stuff would be stuff like some of our foliage overhauls recently, and a lot of stuff I do you probably won't be able to see directly, but you might be able to feel it because most of the kind of performance increases recently that have been for the GPU have probably been me.
Cool, yeah, and I think we even recently leaked a screenshot of Toledo that had some of the advancements that, things that you've been working toward. Chance, I'm going to toss it over to you to kind of introduce yourself and tell us what you do on the team.
I'm Chance, level design, putter downer, just place objects on the map, make it kind of look pretty. One of only 2 Aussies on the team, pretty much run the official OWI headquarters in Australia from this room.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What would be a recent example of what you've done in game? What are people playing on that belongs to you?
Kohan, Basra, which were both implemented before I came onto OWI, which were modded maps, which were purchased to become official maps. And then since that time, Balea, Kamdesh, a little bit of Talil. So I kind of dabble in a lot of the maps. Kind of try and get my hands on as much as I can.
Yeah, right on.
We all go around a lot.
Yeah, I mean, especially, Chance is a little touchy-feely. Yeah, especially recently, you guys have been kind of working more kind of holistically as a team and trying to working back on a lot of projects, especially some maps that we've kind of gone back to revise. I'm curious, can you guys kind of talk about what you've been doing to kind of revitalize some of those older maps?
You want to take this one or no?
I
mean, you did Balea.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like probably Balea and Gorodok would probably be the ones that we would end up talking about. So ended up changing a bit of, well, it's not too much of a drastic change in the sense of like location wise and all that kind of stuff. It's more in terms of like foliage cover wise. Pretty much, yeah, like to to benefit the gameplay towards infantry on Balea. So
Yeah,
that's adding foliage.
especially
It's
like
kind of
as
like a bit of mix of like what we did on Camdesh with the uh, low-lying
the visual
ditches,
covers and stuff.
yeah, that kind of stuff. We tried to implement that onto Balea without changing it too drastic. So
Yeah, just either like bringing it up to speed with the new vehicle mechanics, and also pretty much every map we've made at this point we haven't been perfectly happy with in the first iteration. So being able to put out a version 2 is pretty nice.
I'm kind of curious, just kind of playing off that. Like, obviously, Squad has changed a lot since V7, V8, V9. Every major patch, the game changes a lot, and thus the maps kind of have to adapt with it. Looking back a year, what are some of the kind of the major challenges that you've had to face in making Squad, future-proof? We're looking at helicopters, we're looking at tanks. I'm curious, how mapping has changed over that time for you guys.
Axton.
Well, actually, from my perspective, it hasn't changed a whole lot because I don't do as much of the level design stuff as Chance. But there actually has been a lot of interesting. Well, there's been a little bit
It's
interesting
probably
stuff
like
on the
off
technical side
performance.
because, yeah, getting ready for helicopters especially was a pretty big thing on my part because that's very much an optimization issue because you have to be able to draw stuff from up in the air. We can't just cut off the draw distances quickly. It needs more that's
Yeah, like
like that was a big thing with Camdesh was we were trying to make sure it drew far enough to support helicopters.
the one thing with that is like when I say back in the day, I mean like 12 months ago when we were doing maps. It's kind of like we knew choppers would eventually come along, but it's kind of like, well, it's not here now, so we can kind of not worry about it. But now as it gets closer and closer, it's kind of like we've got to start worrying about that optimization kind of stuff. So now with the newer maps, it's kind of like we're building in mind for that instantly. Camdesh was kind of we kind of built it around the idea of how choppers would work on the map itself, and now going back through the older maps and kind of
Yeah, there was a little bit of that in Mestia too, but I don't know if choppers are ever going to be on there.
They would look
But
damn cool on there, but I don't know how they would play there for sure.
It is quite
it beats
small
driving
though,
up
yeah.
hills.
Yeah. But there are like some of the hilltops there I left empty just in case.
The hilltops, the bridge. There's a lot there that would be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You had mentioned Camdesh, and I know Camdesh roads have been kind of a focus, and it's something that Korengal, our modding community, has also picked up on. What have you learned in kind of like setting up road networks, or is there anything that you can take away from there that's been valuable to you?
People don't
Oh,
like
yeah.
spaghetti.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's your problem, Chance. Chances you
Well,
can blame Chance for all of the spaghetti
hang on.
right now. Just
Before we start blaming anyone, I did the roads like twice from scratch.
Yeah, that's
'cause we
true. You
changed the
lost
height
your
map.
progress. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think maybe I might have just got too happy with drawing the roads, just thinking to myself, we have a full 4K size map and everything. But I
Yeah.
still look at it. It's like you need that road network because maybe it could be changed up a little bit. But you need that road network to pretty much get around because Gorodok itself, whilst it's the same size map, you have a lot of low-lying areas that are flat that don't have a lot of like dense foliage and all that kind of stuff. So you can get from A to B by cutting across the field. Where Camdesh, as everyone already knows, if you take a vehicle off the road, it's really likely to get it stuck or flipped or whatever. So
Yeah, and then
yeah,
in
it can be
relation to
reduced.
Korengal, I would say the biggest thing that I have found with roads over, the time I've done mapping so far is, whoever, I believe it's Code Red Fox who's making the Korengal map, he's going to have a terrible time doing roads because the one thing that our roads hate are verticality. Our vehicles don't like climbing up steep roads generally. So that's going to kind of suck for them. But yeah, that's like we're having problems with Kohat too when we were doing the expansion was trying to get the roads not ridiculously
Not
steep.
Bestia.
Yeah, not messy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always find it fascinating to know that like some of that, like the torque in game is also already super high to the point like if we started tweaking it too much more, those vehicles are going to shoot up 90-degree walls.
It's like actually, I believe it's above. Well, so on some of the vehicles, I'm pretty sure it's actually above real life. But I think it's just like if you look in real life, Norby is very keen to tell you. If you look in real life, you will find that most roads don't go anywhere near as steep as our roads do.
Yeah, which is part of the reason you have the off-road boost and stuff like that. But we're still looking at
Yeah.
that for anybody that's not satisfied there. We know. I kind of want to touch on Toledo. We had talked about that as kind of coming up. It's been teased here and there, but it is sort of an exciting new thing, and it is different. What brought it to mind was you guys were talking about kind of Camdesh and so the way you've kind of gone back to make sure that there's a little bit more cover. And I know a lot of people have been afraid that Toledo is just going to be like a wide open desert where tanks are battling it out.
Yeah, no. I did the terrain for Toledo, at least the height map part of it. It's gonna be pretty open outside. Obviously, there's not gonna be bushes and rocks and stuff everywhere. It's a desert. But the whole desert is kind of built in this thing where it's mostly flat with intermittent kind of clusters of little plateaued hills on it. So the idea is it's going to give armor something to kind of hide behind when it's moving, but it's also going to give areas for infantry to build up fobs in and kind of take cover from the armor if they need to. So you can move kind of from cluster to cluster of hills.
I'll give a quick screen share. It's only going to be like really quick.
Yeah, friendly Nikolai, I think you need to pipe up here. You just asked for something cool, so.
You guys show something awesome. Yeah. No, we never show anything awesome here, do we?
I mean, just Chance. He's
Yeah.
pure awesome.
It's just him.
So we'll just have a look there.
Well, yeah, that's the cities. You might be able to find one of the hills out in the middle of nowhere and show them too, like the clusters. Because that's kind of what the desert's going to be like for the most part.
I don't want to show too much. I just.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to show too much. I just want to tease them.
One of the things that I was kind of impressed with that Fuzzhead had kind of mentioned in the past is that the cities on Toledo are huge. I mean, you're talking Sumari Bala size, so there's plenty of opportunity for more combat in the urban center as well as combined arms there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the cities are quite big just compared to the other maps that we have with cities on them. And they're not even like a majority of the map. They're like a small corner of the map, even though they're quite big.
Yeah. So it's like a huge, diverse environment, and I don't know if everybody knew this, but I think we kind of started off teasing Toledo when we first changed to the 3D menu screen. You could kind of see one of the outposts in the desert and stuff. So Toledo has been with us for a long time, and it's been definitely growing. I'm curious, and you guys might not be able to answer this. This is a little bit more toward Ross, but has randomized AAS affected your development at all?
Not so much. It's actually like from what I've come to understand, it's pretty very like similar to setup to the AAS stuff. So Fuzz does most of the gameplay layer setup. So I can't speak towards the actual technical part of setting it up, but I do know we've been really pushing towards having more insert points on a map because that allows us to create a lot more diverse layers for it, especially with random AAS. So you could have like a main base on every corner of the map just in case.
What does Fuzz call it? Something to do with like compass.
Compass points or something.
Nah.
Yeah, but yeah, he like Fuzz loves it if we can give him like even if it's just like a small farm or something on each corner of the map. He loves it if we can have like some kind of insert point on each part of the map for him to use as a main base.
Awesome. Yeah, and Fuzz has been instrumental in doing a lot of the cool stuff that's been going on behind the scenes right now. And I know they're talking about kind of some revamps to making capture points a little bit more easy to get into and a little bit more sensical and uniform too, as well as appearing on the map. So looking forward to kind of seeing that come to life in conjunction with some of the new maps that are really kind of designed for that. And kind of in that much, there is a question from Corporal Dirty or Captain Dirty in the forums that are we going to see bigger maps with large bodies of water once helicopters are invented? Is there anything like Gulf of Oman in the works?
Gulf of Oman would be pretty damn cool. I don't know if we can get that though.
Yeah,
we might have to talk to a lawyer, but yeah. I know
like that size body of water. Like
like I don't think
maybe.
we have. There's a map that has an ocean in it that we're looking into right now.
Yeah, if you could put like 2 and 2 together, like certain
I'm
people
sure
brought onto the team that are in
somebody might know.
Totally random factoid, but I just learned the other day that Sharkey Peninsula from Battlefield was actually based on Doha, Qatar, and the building you fight in is supposed to be the Al Jazeera Tower. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of, I believe a lot of their maps are based on
Always
roughly
jumping off
Unreal
the
world.
roof of the tower at the end of the game just to be in like,
Yeah.
the end screen.
Yeah,
Just
what
hit-
reminded me was like there is that insert point at the most southern part of the map, and sure enough, that's even there. It's an art museum in real life. But if you ever want to, spawn at the helicopter point. To follow up on that, just the same version, Corporal Dirty was wondering, are we ever going to see 8x8 maps, 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer maps?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
See no reason why not.
I don't know about the full playable size, but yeah.
From a technical standpoint, yeah, we can probably do it. From a perspective of kind of doability, whatever.
The viability?
Yeah, viability. That's a better word. I kind of turned into chance there for a second. But yeah, no. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to make a map that big because the thing that you have to understand for that is it's not just double the size of a 4K. It's 4 times the size of a 4K map when you do an 8K map. So it's essentially 4 times the work as well to detail all that out. And it's also kind of a nightmare to get it to perform correctly as well. So
Yeah, especially when
there's
you
no reason
depend
why
on-
we can't really. It would just be a lot of work. But I think we'll probably see one sometime down the road, hopefully.
Yeah, and another thing I'd like to consider that is we're also looking at tanks, where we know tanks are going to take, at least 3 people off the infantry line, so you start looking at bigger maps like that, and you worry about where the front line's going to be. But yeah, they are areas we want to expand in, and we want to continue using as much of Unreal Engine as we can, because it's pretty sweet, and it's getting a lot of love from Epic these days. So yeah, those are the sort of things that we would love to continue to see and develop. This one is directed to Chance. They would like to know, do you still prefer Middle Eastern maps? And obviously you just
over
did it.
European maps.
Yeah, Middle Eastern, and they did ask for a screen share, so we've already fulfilled that. But
Already had it, yeah. Yeah, definitely Middle East. I don't know why. I think it's just because of just some of the current mud hut kind of style building, so we can kind of just manipulate into us.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a fuller asset set for the Middle East stuff, especially now that we've started using some of the new Middle East assets for Toledo. We have a larger range of them.
Plus, one of the things that it's really silly, I find like doing open field, green fields, so bland. I look at it and I'm like when I'm designing the map, when I was doing Balea originally, I had some open fields and I'm like, man, this looks so boring and flat. But when it released, it plays out well. And then doing the same thing for a Middle East map and having this barren desert kind of thing, and I'm just like, yeah, that looks really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just brown and yellow, and somehow it's cool.
Now I understand why Chance likes it.
Yeah. It's brown and yellow, yeah. No, but yeah, and from a performance standpoint, it's actually preferable as well. It's a lot easier to optimize desert maps. Although I do, you know me, I love grass. That's my thing. But it is way easier to do desert maps in terms of.
Did you see
stuff.
Facebook? Some guys like, oh, Axton's trees.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, with
That was
that
great.
in mind, if you took away the technical requirements, is there a setting that you guys would absolutely love to model? I mean, not even within like the limitations of Squad, if you had to go anywhere.
Oh, for me, it's absolutely jungle. I would love to do jungle, but it's so hard to do jungle.
I want to do some like Battlefield Bad Company Vietnam mixed with
Yeah.
like, Battlefield Vietnam map.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a big fan of
awesome.
some of those. What was it? There was a really good BF2 maps and Eve of Destruction. Some of those maps were really amazing, where you could be crawling within 2 feet of each other and not know the enemy was there.
Yeah.
You did mention the grass, which takes me back to not the grass, not the hemp field. Going back to, you both kind of came from the modding community, and your texture shaders for the grass were especially kind of a really beautiful point of when you came to the team. I'm kind of curious, how did you guys kind of think to make the jump from recreational modding or pastime modding into more professional modding? Like, what was your inspiration to get involved?
When they started paying me.
Yeah, I was gonna say this.
Yeah. All right. How about before that? What were, because like it is a lot of work. You guys were doing some really
Yeah.
cool stuff and essentially coming up with new technologies that have made Squad even cooler. So.
Honestly, for me, it was we were working on Basra, and it started becoming like a real big thing. We were like a larger team was working on it, and it started seeming like they were interested in maybe adding it to the game, and that's what really like I was working on it quite a lot before then because I had a lot of free time. I was still in high school, but that's what really kind of got me like way into it, is because I was like, wow, this could be pretty cool. I could, people could see my map. Who would have thought? Our
I
map.
don't know. I don't know. Assisted by,
Yeah.
um, like going
Yeah.
from like why I even finished Kohan in the first place, or even started. I don't even know why really. I was looking for work, and like the missus is like, "Oh, how many jobs did you apply for today?" And I'm like, none. I've been learning how to use this tool, and it's just it just got addictive. And then at just one point, it's just like, "Hey, we want to get that map off you." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." Um, I yeah, it just
Yeah.
become addictive. Like, not even the whole aspect of like people are going to play something that I've kind of like put all this time into, but it's just like when you start making a map, you literally start from like a black a black screen, and then all of a sudden it turns into something. And
Yeah.
for me, when I very first started and I finished Kohan, I was like, holy shit, like I created this out of like nothing. And
Yeah, that was kind of the same
it's like
for
my
me
child.
too. Like before I started on Basra even, yeah, working on, I had some like really shitty map concepts. I'm sure there's still videos somewhere on my YouTube page. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it was shitty.
it's just so nice to like start from scratch. That's my whole favorite thing of development in general, is just like you have an issue, you start on it, and then eventually you get somewhere and you have something you can kind of show for yourself. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, but there's that part that's in between where you start with nothing and
Oh,
get to the
it's
point
yeah.
where it's satisfying, and it's like that whole in between, you're like, should I just
Yeah.
fucking delete this
Fucking
shit? Like,
sucks. The whole in between is terrible.
why am
It's
I doing this?
horrible. And then it all pays off and you're like, "Oh yeah, I remember now."
Yeah, like we went through so many times on that with like Basra and Cabdash. I was just like, nah, this ain't gonna work. Like,
Yeah.
and now they're like, Basra's kind of like most popular map. Yet
Yeah, humble
it's not.
brag.
Just a little one. Yeah,
Just put
to
it out there.
jump back just a little further into your history, were there games that were kind of instrumental in getting you into like the modding and creative side of gaming? Was there something that really sparked your interest? I mean, obviously Minecraft is like a modern candidate for that for everybody, but what got you here?
Yeah. Well, I know Chances was like texturing some dude's face onto a terrorist in
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, but yeah. For me, I'm way young, so yeah, it was Minecraft for me. When I was like 11 or 12, I started playing Minecraft. I modded the shit out of it, and then I moved on to other games from there. But that was really the first one for me.
Um, Before I even answer, we should just ban rots from
Yeah, yeah, Rots, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
talking shit. Go Broncos. Um, yeah. Um, Really, the first thing that got me right into kind of like the whole modding scene was literally like obviously when everyone plays Counter Strike Source, everyone downloads a mod and different skins and all that kind of stuff. But I think Armor 3 was the thing that kind of solidified like what modding really is. And then yeah, just took it from there. Yeah, I only ever did reskins in Armor 3. Never even touched this
Yeah,
mapping
I always
anything.
went whenever I modded a game, I went straight for the map editor. That's what I always went for. I tried to see like the biggest map I could make, and that's what I would do. Is I would just like I'd make the biggest map I could make, and then I would try to fill it with stuff, and then I would wait until the editor like died because I added too many objects, and then I would move on to a different game.
Fill the memory up, dump it, and go. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
UE4 handles a lot more.
this is a little bit more of a thinker question, I guess. But has mapping changed the way you play games?
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't play a game now and just be like, why the hell did they do that? Like,
Yeah. I
it kind
actually
of takes away
it's
from some of the
it
games that I play.
does. Yeah, I've found that I enjoy some games less now. And it's actually, I don't even think it's strictly a mapping perspective. Just knowing the actual way that games are made behind the scenes can kind of change your perspective on them a lot. Um, It's not even so much like you're judging them for doing something bad or like, oh, I would have done that better. But sometimes for me, it's just like the fact that I know the systems behind it can kind of make it a little, like it takes a little bit of the magic away.
Yeah, no, I harken back to there was my first run of Half-Life 2. I ended up getting outside the map and can see all the moving set pieces together. Where like you're like, oh, okay, this is all going to happen. So like, yeah, you do get to see a little bit behind the magic. But
Yeah.
yeah, is there any ways that it makes it more interesting for you? Do you look at a game and say like, oh, that's amazing, or
Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely times, especially with me, I'm really interested in shaders and stuff. So there'll be times I'll find something in a game and I'll be like, wait, how did they do that? And I'll take screenshots and try to figure it out. But that's like it's not even so much an admiration for the game. It's more like I'm kind of
how do I do that?
or like hell yeah, I need that. That's mine now.
yeah, and that is a kind of a thing that I see throughout the industry where people see like a really great idea and then kind of hunker down to figure out how they can make it their own and kind of come around.
Yeah.
And like that's how we get a lot of really cool technology. That's how we get, iterative design, things like components, and like that stuff comes up from those cool discoveries.
Yeah, for sure.
Princess Jenny wants to know. I'm going to combine two of her questions. What are you guys currently working on? And she does love your Easter eggs, but I was curious: are there any Easter eggs that nobody has discovered yet that you guys know about?
Yes.
Yes, and yeah, there's Easter eggs that nobody's found yet, for sure. I know there's one on Mestia at the very least.
There's one on Kohan that no one will ever find, ever.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody's gonna find the Mestia one either. There's gonna be some new ones on the firing range too once we get V12 or V13, or no V12.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. A lot of people have not really seen or heard too much about Jensen's Reigns. We've been kind of quiet about that. Can you kind of talk about what's happening to Jensen's?
Well, yeah, that kind of answers your question of what we're working on now, at least for me. I've been working a lot on the firing range recently. It's pretty cool. I mean, you guys have all seen pictures and stuff of it, so I can probably say most of what's on it. It's mostly been completely redone. Like it's an entirely new map and everything. The layout's sort of similar, but it's been pretty much completely done from scratch. So there's like a 1,500 meter firing range now. There's a range for tanks, which is a kilometer. There's a brand new jump in the racetrack, and it's even cooler than the last one. And there's some other cool stuff like the timed range got replaced with a kill house, like from if you ever played the training mission of like Call of Duty 4, it's like that sort of thing. But yeah, cool stuff. And it should be a bit more accessible for people to actually that want to train on the training map, because there's a MOUT there as well, an urban training area, and the kind of skirmish area in the center got a little bit touched up as well, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing Jensen's kind of paired off with the new UI and stuff that kind of does a little bit more to get you into the game and show you how to play.
Yeah.
Where like the range might actually become a really good training range now. It is looking really good and it is helpful. So it's been kind of a nice to see that coming along too.
Yeah, for sure.
Chance, can you get into anything about what you've been kind of poking at recently?
I've been kind of doing another Middle Eastern, of course. Another Middle Eastern. It's like it's a mix of Chora, Basra. Yeah,
It's a
like
mix
a
of a
mix
bunch of
both
maps. It's
them.
not very
Yeah,
much like what we've done before. It's not a
It's a mutt.
yeah. It's got a bunch of different inspirations, but people will like it. I'm pretty sure people are gonna like it. Yeah, it's
yeah.
cool. It's Middle Eastern, but it's not very actually.
Yeah, it's not browns and yellows. It's actually
greens green and tan. Yeah.
Oh, good. People were
pretty
asking
cool.
for a little more green, so you've already delivered on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we were
I'll
looking
just
at,
say
like,
green
Fallujah
zone
and
is
that. So
yeah.
I already mentioned it.
Yeah.
But you've got like, if anyone's played PR or even like had the ability to Google the word Fallujah, it's tans, yellows, browns, all that kind of stuff. And we want to be able to use the same, like we're using some of the same assets on Toledo, which is the same kind of color palette, and we want to be able to use some of those assets on a different color palette and being
Yeah.
able to greens and
Reusability.
tans.
is a big thing
Yeah.
for the Fallujah assets. Yeah, we're trying to get
What do
them
you
so we can use them on a bunch of different maps, not on just one.
Can we have more?
Yeah, can we have a map base more for the British side?
No, just no.
Well,
No,
I mean,
never.
no, no. I
Why would we
think a
do
lot
that?
of the maps. I mean, Basra is basically a British map. We just didn't have the British faction when it was first put in. And Kamdesh does very well for the British.
Yeah, that was
Their camo works way too good. I didn't even
that was
intend
kind
for
of
that to happen.
accidentally. Yeah.
Yeah, like it turned out the color palette we chose happened to perfectly match the British camo.
Yeah, as soon as we got the player models in, Axton was screen sharing, and he put all three factions in, and I was just like, did you put the British in? He's like, yeah, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, they're there. Trust me.
where?
They're barely there, but they're there.
And now that's all we ever hear. Oh, they fucking blend in too much. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
camo does what camo's meant to do.
Yeah, well, it was pretty brutal when we, I think it was the Russians that were glowing for a little while there on a couple maps too, where that
Yeah.
might have been more the disparate source of complaints. But yeah, no, that was kind of a happy accident for the British there. You kind of touched, you kind of touched on this a little bit, and it is a question from Stom. Since Belai and Kamdesh have been out for a bit now, how do you think their designs compare to other maps in the game?
Blair, as in the reader? Oh, well, obviously he's talking about the original.
He's talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, just what's out now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. They're definitely kind of a different design philosophy than what we usually do.
Two words, really. More roads.
Yeah. Chance loves to add roads.
Nah,
I think we went maybe even a little too far into spiderweb roads with Kamdesh. That's the kind of the one thing that I'm not happy about with the map. Overall is I think it's a bit like uniform, but it still has other differences in that too. They're kind of built differently.
I think Blair has like it's a really good mix between Gorodok and Yeho are kind of similar. So there's like those two maps, and then you've got like Fool's Road, where it restricts the vehicles to kind of certain areas, and that's what Balea currently does. You've got a lot of open areas. You've got accessibility for vehicles getting here and there wherever they want to go, kind of thing. But there's certain areas where they can't. With Kamdesh, we've kind of taken the opposite route, where it's kind of like we force vehicles to stay on the road. If they want to get off the road, they run the risk of losing their vehicle, kind of thing. So there's two different kind of gameplay scenarios that kind of play out in those. And as we develop future maps, kind of taking what we learned off those and implementing it. So obviously for Kamdesh, there's like originally when we started, we wanted to have like it designed around random AAS with the ability to have like so many different flags. So
yeah, it was really meant to be
areas.
sort of a random AAS map, which is why a lot of the points feel kind of similar. Is it was meant to be more dynamic in terms of how the layout was.
Yeah, so looking at
but
it now,
unfortunately, that didn't come
we
in
could
time.
probably delete a lot of the roads and expand some of the villages, but at the same time, it's like we're also developing new maps. So I will go back and I will end up removing a lot of the roads and expanding some of the points, but it's just a matter of like, do you want a new shiny toy or do you?
Yeah, I feel like most of our maps are going to get a V2. I think the plan right now is that all of the maps are going to get a V2 probably at some point.
Yeah, there's like nothing game breaking. So
no, yeah, and that's the
out.
thing is we release a V1 and it's gonna be complete and it's gonna be it's gonna be stable and everything, but it might not be exactly what we had envisioned for the map when we were originally creating it, and it might not be exactly what the map needs to be, which is why the V2 is there. It kind of allows us to go back and, with the benefit of hindsight, kind of change stuff.
You'd mentioned you'd kind of designed the map with randomized AAS in mind. That is kind of curious to me, that since we do a lot of layers, we do a lot of different modes. Do you ever set out with the explicit intention? Do you to make a map for like invasion? Is it just happy that like a map ends up that way? Is it certain areas of map are designed more for that? How do you approach making sure it works for all different layers and all different kind of game modes?
Designing a map around one game mode, you're just shooting yourself in the foot because obviously it's going to become so bland. And
yeah,
someone designing a map, you want to be able to reuse it multiple times on multiple different layers.
That was even a little bit of the pitfall we fell into with Kamdesh, I think, because we designed too much for random AAS. Yeah.
with the new map that
And
we're doing, we've kind of designed it around that philosophy, but we've obviously learned that no one likes spaghetti, and
yeah, and sameness is a big thing too. We're
yeah,
constantly
um,
slapping Chance across the face when he gets a little too samey, just to kind of shake him up a little bit.
Yeah, although I can see where that might be a nice tool too, because like if you're going
What
through the countryside and you kind of get lulled into submission and suddenly there's a firefight, that's also an intense moment.
Yeah.
So there's something to be
Well,
said for using it judiciously.
it's kind of the overall design philosophy there is, and this kind of answers the question you asked too. Is a lot of times we design the map around a specific kind of area or something, and we tend to design, at least in the terrain sense, because this is the thing I can speak on, is the map is kind of designed first, and we're thinking about gameplay when we're designing the map, but we're not really thinking about the overall like the layout and stuff, because the layout usually comes like kind of later. Usually what happens is we make the map and then we make the layouts for the map rather than vice versa.
well,
Because it's
with
really,
Camdash, we kind of didn't.
yeah, we
Did
kind of
we?
did both. It was
Yeah,
a mix with Camdash, which is kind of why it's a little different.
yeah, probably why it's like so
Yeah, but it is what it is, and I think a lot of times with realistic kind of centered gameplay like Squad, it's not like super milsim or anything, but it is quite you have a lot of maneuvering and a lot of covering ground, so you kind of have to design a map realistically, if that makes any sense. You can't just like it's not exactly like Counter Strike or Battlefield or anything where you can design around big set pieces or anything that you're always going to be fighting over. You really have to have a lot of variety there because the gameplay is going to take you all over the map all the time. So you're designing more from like a very large scale, real world sort of standpoint when you're taking your inspiration, and then the layers come after. They kind of come as something that's added into that real world area to kind of direct gameplay a little bit more.
one
Cool.
of you said about like it being sameness kind of thing. Like with Camdash, a lot of the villages, like obviously because they're using the exact same statics, become kind of samey. But Camdash was kind of designed in the sense of firefights happening in between the capture points, so it was more like off the flag, um, kind of. I can't think of the word right now, but more fighting through the foliage and all that kind of stuff instead of like actually in the point itself. And I think Camdash it really pays off in that aspect. It plays out the way it's meant to be played out. Like there's always a lot of fighting, a lot of flanking going on in like within the foliage and outside at the point. Um, so I think the sameness doesn't really affect Camdash in the sense that it's
Yeah, it's still
yeah, it
it's
uses the
still
same
it's
objects, but yeah,
Keep
it's
digging
a
yourself out
valid
of that hole.
criticism, but it's yeah, the design philosophy of it wasn't so much designed around the villages, which is kind of the point. Yeah.
I'm
Now,
actually
to be fair, the forest is kind of samey too, but it's the terrain that's a little bit different.
I'm super excited to see how Camdash plays with like the revive and hab changes that are coming up. Like I think we might
Yeah.
see exactly
yeah.
what Camdash was supposed to be, or at least kind of come to life in that sense.
Yeah,
Rots
that'll
actually
be
has a
interesting.
question. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Rotsbu has a question, kind of a follow-up. How do you design maps around the future introduction of MBTs? Do you guys think about some parts of the map that are actually being, by design, inaccessible for MBTs?
I
Yes.
believe, yeah, Toledo already has a couple areas that are they're not inaccessible actually, but they've been kind of designed around being a little more of a pain in the ass to get into in a tank, just to give the infantry a little bit of respite from the large open areas outside, and kind of give the infantry a place to play, so they're not getting constantly wrecked by tanks.
And it's the same
Um,
same go with like the cities and that kind of stuff. Like whilst a city might be like this big, it's restricted to only a certain portion. So once you get within the city itself, it's kind of like the vehicles kind of have to travel around the outside. You have to send your infantry in.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Kind of have the vehicles circling outside, securing stuff. Now, and that's not to say you can't get a vehicle in if you need to,
yeah,
but it'll kind of be a sitting duck because the areas in there are pretty tight, and it's going to be difficult for you to keep your vehicle maneuverable. You'll be a lot more susceptible to kind of surprise attacks and RPGs and stuff, and you probably won't be able to get your vehicle out as easily either if you need to.
same way that kind of Camdash's forests work. Like
Yeah,
once you're in there, like
it's a gamble
you've
basically.
taken the
You're doing it.
risk.
You're making a calculated risk. Yeah. And I also
Next question.
saw there was a question about bushes and fences being drivable with vehicles. Yes, that's something we're working on, and we found a solution for it. So it's just a thing where we have to get it implemented. Also, Stom, please send me that video of the man fighting an ostrich.
Yeah, Tom, if you could just hook us all up with that ostrich
Yeah,
fighting
just
video.
link
That
that in the
seemed...
chat. Thank you.
He got distracted while I answered the philosophy about Camdesh and Belair and the rest.
Yeah, we busted out his question explicitly just for him, and he's sitting there watching ostrich videos. Jeez.
Yep.
We had this chat for you, Stom. This is something we might have probably should have covered a little bit early on, but for the people that weren't here for the last one, and since we didn't get to record it, can you guys just kind of pitch us an overview of what creating a map looks like for you? Like, where you start? I know a lot of world map comes into play, but what's your process when you're creating a map?
I guess I could start it because I'm like the first part of the process. Usually it starts with like a concept. Generally it's either we have references or we have a real world location that we're going for, or both. So in like Bozra's case, we had the references from PR. And, in Camdesh's case, we had a lot of references from movies like, Lone Survivor, and we had some pictures from real life in that part of Afghanistan. And then from there, we usually go straight to terrain, because that's probably the kind of most overall part of the map that we really need to start with. And that's usually me. I do a lot of that in World Machine and stuff. And then we go in, we bring it into Engine, we make sure everything lines up correctly, and we kind of get an idea of the scale of it. We walk around it a little bit, drive around it. And then it kind of, it starts going over to Chance and back and forth a little bit. We do some foliage and stuff back and forth, the terrain material and stuff I set up. And then Chance, does his thing.
A few times.
Yeah. Sometimes he has to start over once or twice because the terrain changes and he has to replace stuff. But
it starts with boiling a pot of spaghetti and throwing that at the wall. And then we have our road network.
Frog leg and a sprig of rosemary and an eyeball.
It's really hard to get the blood Chance needs through Australian customs. That's really the problem there.
Yep. They're not a fan of us.
So if somebody in here was like, Squad is awesome, I really want to get involved in squad mapping, what do I do? What's the first step to somebody that's interested in mapping today?
Obviously,
go
download it.
Yeah, we have an SDK. It's on the Epic Games launcher. Same place that you play such titles as Fortnite. Yeah, you can download the SDK literally anytime. It has everything that we use, like our entire suite of tools. Everything that I use on a daily basis is in
up
the
to
SDK.
the current patch.
Yeah, up to the current patch. Yeah, we have some stuff that isn't in the current game, but yeah, it's the same tools that we use. So, and there's a modding hub. Yeah, there's a Discord for it, which is where Chance and I met. We'll be telling our kids about it someday.
Our kids.
Yeah. It's awesome.
There we
There's
go.
A link to it. Yeah, there's a link to it in the official Discord, I believe. And it is an awesome place where people will help you through and through with your journey through modding if you want them. So
you can find the boy that you've always needed.
That special someone. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you can map your heart out. This is a good follow-up. You've wanted to know, will there be mapping streams again, like we had for V11?
I'd love to, yeah.
Fingers crossed,
Yeah, it's just a question of, because a lot of the stuff we're working on is a little fragmented right now. Like, I'm working on a couple different things. Chance is working on a couple different things. Well, mostly one thing, but that's a ways off. So it's just whether we can get clearance to stream all of the things that we're working on at a given time. Like right now, I could get clearance to stream some stuff, but it's mostly the boring stuff. So.
Yeah, and the same thing that I'm doing. Like I'm doing one. For those that have watched my streams when I was placing rocks, it's literally that, but on a
larger
way
scale.
Bigger scale.
Yeah, he's had an interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah, so
and by that I mean not interesting at all whatsoever.
It's not, no.
Yeah,
sometimes I wake up like, why did I even bother waking up?
Yeah.
No, big guy.
But it'll pay off. This is that stage Chance was talking about between the problem and the payoff. Yeah.
I'm like here out of it's. I have a long way to go before I get to the point where I'm like, oh wow, that was actually really worth it. I'm at the stage where I'm like, can we do something else, please? Like, this is not working.
Yep, happens every dev cycle.
Well, we'll make sure you get a good hug on the company holiday.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Chance's respite. He's gonna go there and then he's gonna stress himself out trying to pack too many events in one day. I can already tell.
This is a question from, sorry, as I lean, Omtastic999. Are the bridges on Korra going to get widened for MTLB tanks or other vehicles?
We could. It depends whether Fuzz wants to put those vehicles on the map, though. That's all. Or if they already are on the map, which they might be. I don't remember if Chora has any of
I don't think
those.
Chora will have tanks. Like,
I know it won't have tanks. I'm not sure about MTLBs. And I'm not sure if he meant MTLBs or if he meant MTBs. But yeah, no, Chora probably won't have tanks. But if there are vehicles that don't fit on the bridges, then we should probably widen them.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I guess maybe some of the warriors and stuff might be a little chunky there too. But
yeah, chunky monkeys there. But I don't.
Damn British.
Chora doesn't get. Chora shouldn't get much armor. I don't think. I mean, that's up to Fuzz actually. But just from my perspective, I don't think he would probably put much in the way of heavier armor on there.
I look at it from a gameplay aspect, like as someone who just plays Chora, and you always see like the 30 mil sitting up in like one of the first flags near the British point. So having like a main battle tank just sitting there, just no. Just
Yeah,
no.
it would be really campy.
I don't wanna
It's
deal
too
with that.
small of a map for that sort of thing, I think.
yeah, no. Are there any other maps that you would like have that kind of utter disgust for in terms of like how do we fix it?
yeah, pretty much Mestia. Yeah. In terms of like adding new assets to maps, I think some of the maps we just have to accept are just not going to get some of the new stuff. Like choppers and tanks are a very map specific sort of thing. They basically like there's a certain set of criteria that the map has to fall under for them to actually play well on it, I think. And that's not really even up to us so much as it's up to Fuzz and Ross. But I think, it's pretty obvious usually for the most part, whether or not a tank or a helicopter is going to work on a specific map. Most of the really old maps that were a bit smaller, they were built for infantry, there's just not really any way that we can get them to actually work correctly with the new assets, unfortunately. They were just really built around that infantry gameplay.
Yeah, we've lost Chance to the fridge again. I'm kind of curious.
Going back.
You have touched a lot of the squad maps. Is there one that you have worked on that hate to play, and vice versa? Like, is there just one that you absolutely, like? It's fine
to play. I don't think so. I enjoy a lot of the maps. I think right now Yeho is probably my least favorite map gameplay wise, but I think that's going to change now that Xeno has been working really hard on doing the redux for Yeho, and it's actually like it's really 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 good now. I have all of my complaints with that map have been erased. But yeah, in the current version Yeho is my least favorite. I'd say if I had to pick one that I hate to work on, it's probably First Light. As much as people love it, it's a pain in the ass to work on. It's so hard to support that map.
Yeah, that's a good example of maps that are probably never going to see like the major upgrades and major design philosophy changes.
Yeah, that's. I would love to go redo it. We have people that don't want to redo it, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. First Light.
Yeah, we've talked about deprecating it to a mod, so it's still accessible and updatable, but not necessarily part of the vanilla
I know it's very
experience.
derisive or whatever, or no, divisive. There we go. It's a lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it, some people don't care about it. I am in the camp that I think it's a neat map, but I don't really care about it that much. I would much rather just start it from scratch and do a whole new map that's like based on it. But right now it's probably getting retired because it is a lot of work to maintain.
I looked at like expanding it before I joined OWI, and the only way I could see expanding it was to kind of redo it because the road network itself
it's just not built to be expanded.
Yeah, it's
not built to be maintained either. I mean, it's just like it was never even meant to be a map. It was originally like an asset showcase or something, and they turned it into a map, and it was cool, and it is cool, but it's just it's a big mess on the inside, and you can love the mess, but it's probably just gonna get relegated to a mod. And with the mod changes that are coming down the road, I think you'll still be able to play it. on unlicensed servers and stuff, I believe. But
Yeah, in theory, it wouldn't.
not going to be it's just not going to be officially supported, I think, is what it is.
I want to keep it. I'm just like,
Yeah,
being
I actually
someone who
wouldn't mind
kickstarted,
just
it's
I wouldn't mind just keeping it and having it be broken, but I think the higher ups have
if you
have an
keep
issue
it,
with that.
it's all up to the people who host servers whether they keep it in the rotation or not. And you can pretty much
Yeah.
use it just as like a seeding map.
Yeah,
If you
it is a
don't
good
have it-
seeding and training map for especially for people that
Yeah,
are new to
well, to
squad
be
leaders.
fair, we are we're looking into
Should have
having
said
a
it.
dedicated seating map in some form or another. So I can't say much about that right now, but it is something that I've talked to our boss about, seeing if we can get that project approved so we can have like an actual dedicated seating map.
Yep,
Which would
yeah, that
hopefully
is
alleviate a little bit of that.
that is something people would love to have. So that is something that we can hopefully make a good pitch for. We're getting close to the end here, and I don't want to keep Chance too late because it's coming up
Oh,
on
I
you
just
know.
had my drink.
He's ready to go
I'm
now.
Still good. Yeah, I'm still keen to go.
Anyway, it's Grimes wanted to ask, and this we kind of touched on this as you both kind of came from the modding community. But any advice in getting getting a career in the games industry?
Keep trying.
Yeah, you got to be really dedicated. Honestly, you gotta
If
a little
I
bit
can
of
do
it's
it.
the right place, right time. Yeah, well, if Chance can get here,
Yeah.
but it's the same with me. Like if neither Chance nor I are we're not wonder brains or anything. We're just normal. We just happen to be really passionate about it, and we ended up doing like a lot for it just out of kind of our own interests. So if it's something you're really interested in, and you keep working really hard on it, and it also helps that you're kind of doing it with the right people. I mean, there's probably some companies that would just never hire you, even if you did a lot of good mod work. But I
Like-
know, like OWI is great with that, and I'm sure there's others that are kind of like us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for those that are
um,
modding within like the squad community, I wouldn't go chasing employees of OWI to kind of like,
Yeah,
hey, look at this, look at this. Like,
don't be
we
creepy.
constantly
Yeah,
see it. Like there is so much stuff getting shared like in our like dev chats, but that's happening in the modding community.
yeah,
So
we regularly
yeah,
share screenshots of mods and stuff that we find cool.
so it's out there, and
Yeah,
just keep on trying. Just
yeah,
do the best that you can, and like if someone ends up contacting you, then fuck yeah. If not, then like
yeah. Just
don't
be
take that as negative. Just keep trying. Like
Yeah, if I could sum it up, it'd just be like be humble, do good work, and just especially help people. That was the big thing I see is like if somebody is in the mod community and they're actually helping other people, that not only shows that they're a good person, it shows that they know enough to help other people, which is pretty good.
And they're capable of working in a team, which is something that
Yes,
you're going to be
yeah.
doing regardless of what position
Yep.
you have in the industry. If you can't work on a team, you're not going to succeed. Yeah, like
it really is.
I've been around tangential to the industry. I've volunteered for PAX. I've hosted game company servers. I'm working for OWI right now. And my advice would be just be open, honest, work with people. Most of what you're going to find is that you're going to have to build, a reputation as somebody that is good and fun to work with, is talented. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be willing to put the hard work in and understand it's a job. I mean, there are jobs everywhere that have ups and downs. It doesn't really matter what industry you're in. You just need to know that like it's not always going to be the cool playing video games all day. There is a lot of hard work, and to demonstrate that is sort of key in that. And attending industry events and going to like the panels where you're learning new things and hanging out with the GDC channels and things like that. Yeah, those are ways to get in. A lot of it is being friendly, personable, and showing that you can hang. It doesn't have to be the best work in the world, but you have to be capable of being consistent and producing.
Yeah, either being consistent or you gotta really like it. Like I don't think I'd be able to do like this line of work if I didn't really enjoy doing it. That's because if you don't enjoy doing it, you're gonna be doing a lot of it, and not enjoying it would really suck. Honestly, it's just a lot of There's a lot of stuff that unless you're really into it, you're just not gonna like, and you gotta do it over and over again. So.
And get used to rejection. I mean, get used to sending out 300, 400 resumes a year and not hearing anything back, or hearing one or two back, or people saying like, "Hey, we'd really rather have you do that for free." Don't do it so free.
And as someone getting into it, like, be prepared to kind of like put in like either a couple hours or a week or so of work, and then like the following day after all of that, you look at it and go, "Looks like shit."
Yeah,
And
it's terrible.
you change it
Start
all up.
again.
Like, be prepared to do that because it happens.
Oh, especially while you're learning. Yeah, that is the number one thing that's gonna happen while you're learning is you're gonna have this great new idea. It's gonna be the best thing you've ever done, and then you do something better, and then it looks like shit.
Yeah, and that is kind of, not to make that sound discouraging. That's actually what I love about a lot of what we do is that you're
Oh, yeah, it's
constantly learning.
progress.
Yeah, you learn so much from it. Like,
Yeah, it's
My first
I
map
find it
was
really
so
enjoyable
hard.
actually, but it is going to feel a little like a waste at first because you're gonna think like, oh well, what if this just keeps happening and yada yada yada. It's not a waste. You learn a lot every single time.
Yeah, and
I
that
think-
kind of comes into like save your drafts, make a portfolio. Like everything you do is working toward being better at what you are and how you do it. So like, even if it is a terrible steaming pile of something and you hate what you have done, you got that out of the way. Like that's one thing you don't ever have to do again.
there's a map that I made before Kohan. Well, never became a map, but started to design and everything, and I was posting up screenshots on the forums. And Chris Iron Taxi came along and said like, "Oh, check out the frames. Like, type in this," and I typed it in, and I was getting like, I think I was getting between like 8 and 15, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay."
Yeah.
Delete. I deleted the entire
Yep.
thing and started Kohan, and now when I look back at me deleting that, I should have really kept it because now knowing what I know, I might have been able to make it work. So, yeah, like
Yeah, keeping
what the other two
stuff
guys
like
have
that
said,
around.
like as much as the stuff that you work on may end up not working or may just look crap or shit or whatever, just continue to work on other stuff and you can always come back to it. Like there's a saying that you can't polish a turd, but like I've got a job, so
Yeah.
if I can make a map, I can polish a turd. So
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, just straight from the
there's
horse's
hope for
mouth. There it
everyone.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to round it out, I recently learned, and this is kind of a cool fact, that both Discord and Slack more or less started from making games, and they scaled down their scope to back where they are communication tools now. There was a game called Glitch out there that was a web-based browser game. So like, even if you don't necessarily succeed at what you set out to do, you can still create amazing things, and you should never really underestimate, the effort you put into something.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just gonna hijack this for a sec. Just posted something in the Twitch channel. It's kind of
Oh,
dark.
your
and
link got deleted.
yeah. Oh,
Gatsby's got to post it.
Gatsby's gonna post it. Yeah, it's in. Well, I'm not wearing pants, but there's a poster up there.
Yeah, we'll post you post your link right after in Discord. So if you want the preview of what Naughty Chance has just had, he's unwilling to show his junk to you on camera. So
I'll get up and turn the light on. Like, I just want to be able to wake up tomorrow with a job.
Yeah.
As long as
At
your
least.
briefs are fully on, that's fine.
Yeah, they're fully on. I have no problem. I'm like backing up. Like,
Bow,
Yeah.
chicka bow,
Yeah.
chicka bow, chicka.
Oh, there he goes. Pale ass legs.
no shame.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't get a bigger
That's
leak
another
than that.
If you want to become a
Uh,
dev, like, no
Yeah,
pants.
step number 1, stop wearing pants
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
There you have.
But yeah,
squad
that's
poster.
squad poster.
Yeah, what Chance did want to show off besides his hot new package is that he's got a cool squad poster back there.
Yep. And we made some wallpapers for it,
Yeah, made
which is
some
what the link he
wallpapers.
was trying to post was, in a bunch of different resolutions.
Yeah, so tune into Discord and we will have some pretty cool wallpapers for you.
Yeah, if you need any more, just ping me.
Yeah, right on.
Other res.
Well, and that kind of brings us to the end of another Squad Chat. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for your questions about mapping and in the environment. And thank you to Axton Chance and Axton for...
Axton.
Yeah, that's your new couple names for when you guys are snuggling.
Jackson.
All right, yeah, thank you guys so much.
Great.
The Squad Chat will be archived shortly. It'll be on YouTube. Join us in Discord for everything else. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for coming so much.
Yep, see y'all.